What would be your talent in Miss America?
I would recite
Yeah, poetry.
Ozymandias.
A super long one.
It's not that long, but it's very dramatic.
Mm-hmm.
I met a traveler from an antique land who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Nearby, in the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read, which oft remain trapped in these lifeless things.
Remy has that for a sound check.
The heart that fed. And on its pedestal these words appear. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look upon my works, ye mighty, and despair."
And so that would be your talent on Miss
Nothing
America, would be to recite this.
Beside remains round the decay of that colossal wreck. Boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away.
I think I would maybe dance. Hey guys, it's Sam and welcome to Caps Lock, a podcast designed to help you live bigger, better, louder, and longer. Before we get started, I just want to thank you guys for listening and for giving this a chance and for coming here in pursuit of your best self. This is a space where we are going to grow together, and my hope is that it helps you go forward confidently, unapologetically, and with purpose. I almost forgot what I was saying because I was still thinking about the poem. It's time to live your life in caps lock. If that mission feels aligned for you, hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode, and let's dive in. Guys, today is the 1-year anniversary of Caps Lock, which is pretty crazy because it's really like the 1.5-year anniversary because 6 months before my first episode, I was already recording episodes and having guests on the show and doing a lot of work to kind of figure out what it would look like. And for the 1-year anniversary, I thought about doing a solo episode. I also thought about having a cool guest on because we've had some amazing guests. But in the end, I decided that I just wanted some bestie time with you guys. And I thought about what I could talk about that would be like, what's my most asked question? What do I hear about the most from you guys? Because really this is like a listening show. Like I do a lot of talking, but all the talking is born of listening to you guys. And what's funny is that even though this is a podcast about like living your biggest and best and loudest and longest life, you know, we talk about all kinds of stuff, health, money, love, purpose. And the question, interestingly, that I get the most is about my relationship. And so today, as a special guest, we'll like zoom out on the screen if you're watching this. My boyfriend is here. He was like, ding.
I loved when you said that you thought about having a cool guest and then instead it's me. That's nice.
Sorry, you know what I meant. Instead, we're having a guest I'm in love with. And really, I can only say that about one person. So that's pretty cool.
That is very, very lucky for me.
It is. So it is. So today, William is here to talk a little bit about like us because we get a lot of questions about us, but also I have had Lindsay Metzler on, who you've met Lindsay a couple times, who is a dating expert and dating coach. And I think like we as two girlies are able to tell half the story, right? We're able to tell the story from the girly side. But a lot of our listeners don't just have questions about like us and our relationship. They also have questions about like their dating, they're in the wild, they're getting married and doing all these things. And they want to know from the man's point of view how to answer all their burning questions. And so today's episode is a little bit of you guys meeting William and hearing our story, but it's also he'll answer some of your questions that you sent in because you want to ask a man.
I might not have a PhD in love and tolerance, but I can answer any question about the male perspective.
You might be the most tolerant person I've ever met.
Well, that doesn't necessarily mean that I have the PhD, but I think that those are kind of foundational elements when we're going to talk about what's going on with men who are generally not well-intentioned.
So true, King. Okay, let's start with the easy one. We'll talk about how we met. Do you want to do it? You did a really good job of it the other day.
Yeah, I'm happy to give it a shot.
Okay.
Sam and I met 7 years ago. Sam was like a recent college graduate who just sort of like appeared one day in a apartment that I shared with 4 other people as the new girlfriend of one of my roommates.
So true.
And functionally lived in our apartment for about a year. And we were friendly. I would watch there's this show where, one guy dates a lot of women, or like one woman dates like a lot of guys.
Is it The Bachelor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were, getting real hype about that show. And I ended up watching a few episodes with a man. The man at the center of it was an airplane pilot.
Oh my God. This is Pete.
And that was one thing that I remember fondly. I remember
We watched The Bachelor together.
I remember holding your hand while you got your ear pierced.
No,
it was your tattoo.
Yeah.
You got a tattoo.
But it's behind my ears.
Behind your ear. That was hence the confusion. I think what we talk about is that 3 meetings theory, because the 3 meetings theory is like the invisible string theory. And it suggests that, and I when I first read it, I was like, someone made this up, but it happens to be true. The first meeting is when you're not ready or not interested. The second meeting is when you're not ready. And then finally you'll meet when it's time. And I remember you posted about that, and tons of people were like, this happened to me too.
Yeah.
But that's sort of what happened to us. We reconnected a couple years after I moved out of that apartment, and then
now we're in love. So yeah, that's an interesting point. So after William and I were already like pretty deep into our relationship, I had never heard of this 3 meetings theory, but we were at my childhood best friend's wedding, and the groom's parents, I'm like introducing him, or like I had introduced you earlier in the weekend, and they were like, how did you guys meet? You're so cute together. Like, we love what's going on here. And William standing next to me, and he goes, have you heard of the 3 meetings theory? And I look at him like, what are you talking about? Like, we had never talked about it before. So I tell this story about how William said that to my friend's parents, and literally hundreds of people, it might have even been thousands at this point, commented on it. The video did probably 500,000 views, and all these people were like, oh my God, the same thing happened to me. And so I think that's kind of interesting, because our relationship, like, I think some people like meet forever ago, and then they're kind of interested forever, and the timing doesn't work out, and then they get together. But for us, it was really genuine. Like, it sounds so scandalous to say like I was dating your roommate and now we're like together, but it's really not scandalous.
Tread carefully saying this, but also a lot of people have told us that they met their person because the person was dating
someone
roommate.
They knew, or anyone they knew.
One of our favorite older couples, they were dating each other's roommates.
That's the craziest
in
the
beginning.
That's so good.
I'm not saying seduce your roommate's partner. That is not my advice. It is a terrible idea.
No.
However, it is possible that, someone once looked me in the eye and said, they were just making things up. I've never had a girlfriend before, but they were like,
obviously,
you're 23. She's not the one.
Mm.
Right. And I was like, oh, I'm really young. So if you're 23 and you're out there and your roommate's dating someone, I'm not saying go for it. I'm just saying you never know.
And it might work out. When you say, like, someone said to you, like, you're 23, she's not the one, do you believe that to be true in the way God intended it? Like, the way they meant to say that was like, you're so young, this isn't it. Do you feel like that? I feel like some people meet their person that young.
I think it's possible too. I think context is important.
Like, you weren't done cooking. You weren't done baking. You weren't.
Yeah, I think there's that. And then I also think the context of the circumstances that are leading to the pain and discomfort.
Yeah.
So, right, like if you're 23 and you're in a relationship and you're developing a stress response to conditions of the relationship that's preventing you from sleeping or leading to a physical manifestation in like a rash, right? Like
I do know women who, by the way, have like broken out in rashes and hives because of their
it's
partner.
true. Stress hives are a real thing.
Yeah.
So like if that's happening to you and you're 23,
let it go, perhaps.
you know, maybe you're young and there's still some learning to come in terms of like what is a relationship that can be the one.
Great point. When we reconnected, I'll tell the story briefly of how we reconnected. You had been to my birthday party before, right?
Yeah.
Previous. So for those of you who follow me on social, you'll know this. For those of you who don't, you won't. But the last couple of years, instead of doing like a birthday party, like a nighttime nightclub restaurant party situation, I do a workout class, and I do it at Rumble Boxing. And it's usually like people really look forward to it. Like all my friends look forward to it all year. And they're like, oh, when are we doing the Rumble party? Because it's such a fun, it's kind of like wholesome, good, clean, wholesome fun. Like everyone's doing some caffeine. That's like the drug of choice. We wake up, we have a breakfast, we all work out together. It's high intensity, playlist is great, workout's great. You all feel great afterwards. It's a really, really fun party. And William had been to that party before because I'd invited him. Anyway.
I remember feeling honored the first time I went because you gave me the pre-workout. That was like an NO explode, like a crazy pre-workout.
I shared my
like,
pre-workout.
Hey, like, no, you were like, hey, like can you be the one that gets this into people's bodies?
Oh, I handed it to you to pass around?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
to keep in the locker. And like, I was kind of a dealer.
Dealing it. Totally. Yeah, I do bring a jar of pre-workout to that class and let people scoop it. It's kind of a crazy thing to do. It does feel like drugs. But anyway, when we reconnected, I had invited him to this party again, and he couldn't go because his sister was getting engaged, which now I'm like so stoked about. But at the time I was kind of like, okay, cool. Like, no worries. But then after that, we like kind of all like the weekend wrapped up. You came back to the city and you texted me to go to dinner. And I guess the question that this is leading into comes from a follower who said, were you looking? Were you looking for like something serious at that time? Had you been looking?
Yeah, I think looking is a broad category. Like I think that probably in my late 20s, like an always looking thing turned on in my brain.
Yeah, like never not looking.
Right, but backed against the reality that I was very aware of the circumstances that I had led my life to, which were that I was and am self-employed, working on a moonshot technology startup in a space where 1% of companies make it to any level of moderate success.
Right.
So I think the amount of time I was committing to my work and the lifestyle that I was willing to subsist in towards that vision, forced me to, be very deliberate about where I was applying my time in romantic pursuit. So I think I would say like, absolutely I was open, but looking is, I was always looking. But I was aware that I was, not bringing to the table the full extent of the person that I would want to be in a relationship that, I guess I would only be interested in being in a relationship with the person that I thought I was going to spend my life with. And I think in the back of my mind, I could tell myself, I'm not able to be the person that I think the person I'm going to spend the rest of my life with deserves right now. And so that maybe was the only caveat to looking.
And when that changed for you, was it because you found the person, or was it because like you were in a time in your life when you were like, I want to give it a real shot to find the one?
Yeah, I think external and internal factors, right? Like we've talked about genetic and epigenetic factors influencing human development over time. I think internal and external factors influence each other so much that there's not a one or the other answer. Right?
Yeah.
It's never nature nurture. It's never just what I'm feeling or just the other person. It's a combination of the factors. And I think I was, uniquely in a time like you can point to external factors like, oh wow, my brother just got married, my sister just got engaged, and I'm the oldest. Like, am I behind? My two best friends, one's married one's just bought a ring. Okay, am I behind?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like being aware that I can't let social pressures or my social instinct rush me
Yeah.
because I'm not likely to find the right thing in a rush. Combined with the fact that like I had reconnected with someone that I found to be very compelling.
Oh my God. Who?
It was you.
I'm having a great time. But I think that's
Martha Stewart.
This is Martha Stewart, naturally. My crush, actually. I think that's important because I think there are camps of women who believe that like a guy has to find the right person to turn them into the guy who's ready. And so in an effort to make a guy ready, they try to be a certain person in order to be like, I like him. And so I want him to be ready. So I'll become this version of myself that makes him ready. And then there's like the cab light theory, which is like one day a man turns on his cab light and then the next good thing that comes his way is it for him. And so there are some pretty, like, those are two pretty prevailing theories, right? And so it's interesting to hear from a man's perspective, like at the time.
I find both of those theories to be very depressing.
I totally agree. And then there's like Tinx's theory, which I kind of like, and I'd be interested to hear what you think of this. She has the box theory, which is like there are 4 boxes. There's the hookup box, the friend box, the dating box, and there might be like I don't know what the 4th box is. I'm not well read on it, but the concept is like when a guy meets you, he puts you in a box and you almost never move outside the box.
I can't speak to the box theory. I'd have to, do some deliberation.
Yeah.
And like try to create
But in your
those boxes
experience, if you meet
in
a
my
girl
head.
and you're like, that's a friend, is it fluid where she can move between boxes, or like definitely not where you're like, I see this person in a way and it doesn't really change?
It's case by case. Right. Like it speaks a little bit to relationship anarchy and like some of Angie Longren's thinking where like, you need to have a diverse array of people playing a diverse array of roles in your life.
Mm-hmm.
I think it maybe is a little bit unnecessarily restrictive if there's just, 4 boxes. And I think it denies the capacity for relationships to evolve.
Yeah.
And yeah, a relationship maybe won't frequently evolve from friends to dating, although
That's kind
culturally that feels like it is one that happens.
Yeah, huge one.
Or from what was the first box? Enemy?
No, I don't think there's an enemy box.
Because enemy to dating would be one that I think happens a lot.
Totally agree. But I don't think, like, to the point of there not being an enemy box, I don't think you're ever really enemies then. Like, you're cosplaying as enemies. You're
Right.
really in love.
And really what I'm just suggesting is that like, oh, there might be an enemy box that we need to add to this.
5th box. Okay.
Right. And then you have so many boxes at a certain point,
I'm
right?
going to text her and be like, hey.
Maybe the risk is overly generalizing. And I think, cab light theory, like one day a man's ready and the next person that comes along is, I don't know. I mean, sure, the divorce rate's really high. I would suggest like a pretty substantial risk of, I guess, like what some people would call settling, although, it is the man. So I don't know that any man is settling if they manage to convince someone to spend time with them.
Oh my God.
But
ladies, he's a feminist.
And then the other one where a woman will, because you said something that I want to double click on, which is like be the version of herself that he wants to be with. That's not her.
Totally agree.
And that relationship is built on a foundational lie. And ultimately, any relationship that is started with a lie at its premise, even if that lie is just seems like a slight variation on the truth, it's a volcano that's
I agree.
dormant, but ready to erupt at any moment, and inevitably it will.
I agree. I think most women know that, even if it's just subconscious. Like they'll be in a situationship acting like someone they're kind of not to make it work, and they know that subconsciously. But there's a whole thing with women where it's like you have to figure it out for yourself. People will tell you over and over that's not right. If you have to act a certain way intentionally, deliberately to make this work, it's not right. But we know that deep down. Do you have any dating rules that you follow early in the beginning of relationships, so that women can get like an idea from the man's perspective of like how you approached dating?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the disclaimer is that I've never dated
Anyone.
before I met you.
Right. You didn't even know
I didn't
any
even
women.
know that dating was a thing before I met you.
Right.
And that you have inspired me to everything that I now know.
Yes.
Hypothetically.
Yes.
I think when I was young, like probably most people and men specifically, I was an unprincipled dater, right? Like social pressures were more influential in my romantic life than any like true ideal. As I started to commit myself more to, being of service in the world and like trying to leave things better than I found them, I started to implement rules, and my rules were pretty serious, pretty strict by a lot of people's standards. I would, my rule was for years, at least 1 week before the next date.
Okay. Minimum 1 week between dates.
Full week between dates for like a little while.
Why?
Right? No daily texting. Because I think that there's a risk of burnout or of enforced implementation of a honeymoon phase when like you have a date that lasts 12 hours and then you see the person the next day or 2 days later. You're creating a fantasy of what a relationship can be like that it almost never can hold up to. So,
and is that the same philosophy behind no daily texting?
Exactly, right? Like save the conversation for moments where you can actually have a conversation and save yourself the anxiety of needing something to respond.
So if he's not texting every day in the beginning, it might not actually be a bad sign or signal he's not interested. Absolutely. If he's as evolved as you are.
Well, yeah. And I think that that's important is right. Like some people are not going to be texting because they're
not interested.
Right. Some people are going to not be texting because, right, like they're very focused at work and they really are looking forward to some quality time in order to have a valuable conversation rather than like simple exchanges of platitudes just to, remind each other that
you exist.
Right.
What are some of your other rules that you followed early on with me? I don't even know if I know any of them.
So with the week in between dates, and then after a third date, if you're going to the fourth, you cease contact with any other romantic interest. And there's a couple things that are important there. One is you don't tell the person that you've decided to go on to pursue a fourth date with that you're doing that, because you're not creating pressure towards exclusivity in a relationship. It's just merely like observation of time and avoidance of dysphoria in relationships where you can really focus on the thing that like you've decided to take to another step, which for me it comes around the fourth date. And then the key is that even if you go on that fourth date and the other person's not interested, or if the person denies the request for a fourth date,
the other relationships
that had maybe budded but not blossomed are off the table.
Yeah. And is that because you wouldn't have been interested enough for a fourth date with that other person if you were really interested in those people?
The fact that I asked myself, do I want to go on a fourth date with this person more than I want to go on a second date with this other person? Because if I don't, then I shouldn't go on the fourth date.
Wow. I love this. I think men should implement that. I think that's appropriate. That's also kind of funny because I thought I was the reason we weren't going on dates for a week in between dates because I was traveling a lot. Like when we made our first date plan, I was in like Mexico. Then I was in Italy for my friend Andrea's wedding. Then I was like
Taylor Swift concert.
Me? Yeah, in Paris.
Yeah.
And then like I went to Vienna with my family. Like I was in a different country every week that summer. So I thought it was actually me.
Well, and I think that's the thing is like we have to remember that we live full independent lives.
Yeah.
Like the faster we forget that we are individuals with desires and thoughts and perspective, right? Like the quicker we're rushing ourselves into a codependency that is going to be very fallible. So having that codependency established before you truly know each other is so risky, because then, all of a sudden I'm terrible in the spring And
you're
you
wondering
don't learn that
who that
for
person
9
is.
months, and we've been deeply codependent.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, I really detest this man.
And I actually think that this strategy is a good way to tell the difference between infatuation and like seriously being interested in someone and interested in pursuing something. Because I think that's what happens is like, as a woman, I can say my personal experience. I think probably there are other women who will relate. That's like if you like kind of set these imaginary deadlines for men in your head. If he doesn't text me today, then he's not interested. If he doesn't invite me on another date within the next 3 days after our first date, then he's not interested, or I'm not going to give him a chance. And like these guys are kind of like fighting against deadlines they don't know exist. And I think in some cases it's fair because it depends on like the quality of your interactions with them. Like, do they seem interested? Are they asking you questions? Are they interested in pursuing another date? But I will say, like, I actually really, you were the first person I think I've ever dated where we were going a week in between dates and I didn't feel insecure about it. And I think that was due to the quality of our interactions when we were. And I think it was also partly because, like, I wasn't sitting at home waiting for you to text me for another date. I was in Vienna. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that helps too.
I have one
go ahead.
final thought here, because I think this is important, dating or not dating.
Yeah.
The number one way that I observe people ruining their lives is by getting angry at people for not doing something that they never told the person they expected them to do.
Right. If I were to get angry at you for not meeting an expectation I set without telling you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I see people
Women do that a lot.
I see so much of that, and it's
Yeah.
just a slip and slide to misery.
Yeah. This is one of Lindsay Metzler's things, is set them up to win. Like if you want your boyfriend to be the kind of guy who surprises you with flowers all the time, you have to tell them, I love when you buy me flowers. It makes me really happy.
Right.
And it's not asking him to buy you flowers because then it feels like an empty win. It's saying, hey, when you bought me flowers on my birthday, that was like the best thing ever. You should do that more.
And when one time you said, I was walking back to the apartment from 87th Street, and you were like, pick up flowers on the way home.
Yeah,
now,
I did.
Every time I do that walk, I'm like, oh, there's that place I can buy flowers.
Totally.
And sometimes, maybe not often enough, I just go buy them.
It's true. And sometimes you just come home on a Monday night and I'm making dinner and there are flowers in your hand. And I have actually said that as like a personal win before when I was talking to girls. Like someone actually said, like, I feel like William buys you flowers a lot. And I was like, oh, I taught him that. And they were like, what do you mean you taught him that? And I was like, I say that wasn't intentional. What I did was one day I was like, can you pick up flowers on your way home? Like, I like to have fresh flowers in the home. And you were like, totally. And then you just did it sometimes. And I was like, this is great. It's so easy when you set them up to win. And so I think that is one of Lindsay's rules I really like.
And if you are about to set them up to win and you realize that it sounds a little nutty, that's an opportunity to go say, like, right, like if you're about to set them up to win by saying, hey, like, I really love it when you text me every morning to say, good morning, my beautiful ray of sunshine that brightens my day after the first date, right? It's like, oh, maybe I'm setting an expectation in my mind that shouldn't be met, although, you do deserve that message. So,
absolutely.
But some people, maybe it's like too much out the gate.
Totally. I think that is a good opportunity for self-reflection. I guess when we started dating, it would have been, what would you have said you were looking for in a partner?
I think, it maybe sounds like a cop-out answer, but I would only ever be looking for an entire person. And what I mean by that is someone who is fulfilled and productive and engaged in a complete life independent of interacting with me. Mm-hmm. And that is the baseline. Like I truly believe that a relationship cannot be two halves coming together to make a whole. And it can't, you can try it and see how it goes, right? It can't be a whole person and then a person who is bringing half of them and seeking the other half.
Yeah.
You end up unbalanced. The only way to make a whole is two wholes coming together.
This brings me to kind of two things. Well, it's one question that we'll both answer now. Because when someone asked what work we have done on ourselves to show up in the relationship as we did, in a way that made the relationship really work. And I say all the time, I think on my end, a lot of the reason that our relationship worked out and felt very effortless early on was because I had basically been in an accelerator, an emotional accelerator, where I would say like 6 months before we started dating, I was not dating and really, really working on myself. And like I was in therapy, I was like really being independent, spending a ton of time with my friends, kind of figuring out, like taking inventory of my relationships in my life, especially like my friendships, and like prioritizing healthy ones, making new friends, finding hobbies, spending my time super intentionally. And I had done a ton of work on myself to like be happy by myself, with myself. So that when you met me, I really did feel whole, but it was probably the first time in my life that I felt that I was a finished product. Not in the sense that I'm finished forever, but I was a whole person, I think, for the first time ever when we started dating. How did you work on yourself? And like, how did you come to be a whole person?
I think becoming a whole person is going to be a different effort for a lot of people. And it's like, where does your cup get filled? I think it's really easy to know if you have that. Loneliness is curable, right? And the cure doesn't have to be a romantic relationship, right? Like there are roles in everyone's life that can be filled by a wide variety of people. And I think I mentioned relationship anarchy, and basically what Nordgren's theory is like about is that we have created a very dangerous circumstance in what we expect our romantic relationships to be.
Mm-hmm.
And, the suite of roles that a romantic partner ends up playing, where like for one person, your romantic partner is your best friend, your confidant, your therapist, your sexual partner, your live-in chef, in my wonderful case, right? Like, but like all these roles that you expect one person to play, and that's an immense amount of pressure to put on some person. Yeah. So, right, like, I think a whole person has a lot of those primary roles filled in a way where loneliness is not something that's driving or motivating actions or pursuit of something. And I think for me, like the change that I made, like the principal change that I made in my life was a realization given to me by a mentor who said to me, what's best for you is what's best for everyone else. And it's important to frame it a specific way, because that doesn't mean that I should do what I think is best for me, and that'll turn out to be what's best for everyone else. I tried that for a lot of time and it didn't really work. What it means is that like I should just do what I think is best for everyone else, and I will discover that that is what's best for me. And so that sort of service perspective moves me away from ego-driven desires into service-driven desires. And then like when I'm just kind of showing up in the world and thinking about what I can do for another person, then I'm fulfilled because I feel like I have a purpose. And that might be the simplest way to define it, is like find a purpose. And if you're living in purpose, you're whole. If you're living out of purpose, it's hard to be.
It's a little bit of like a radical concept, because I think some people could hear that and be like, put myself last, like do what's uncomfortable for me, even like because it means taking care of someone else. And I think a lot of women fall into like people pleasing, especially like the eldest daughter type, where it's like you're the boss, like you kind of make things go. You're like fitting into every role that everyone wants you to be. How do you do that? How do you do that without like losing yourself and putting yourself last?
It's a risk of the like surface level of this, right? Like, yeah, what I'm saying is put yourself last. Absolutely not. Because what it requires is like, okay, what's best for everyone else is for me to give in this way. However, if giving in this way requires me to not get enough sleep or like not take care of myself, all of a sudden the person that I bring out in the world the next day isn't able to be of service in the way that I aspire to, isn't able to show up in the way that is necessary. So self-care becomes a core part of it, because I have to do what I need to do for myself. And I'm an introvert, which a lot of people don't believe. But if I don't have the ability to like be home in a space with myself, I won't get recharged and I will be impossible to deal with. And all these ideals that I like espouse will fall apart. And it happens, right? Like where like, I'm just like, I can't do it right now. That's the problem with when it is people pleasing or when it is putting myself last. So, the self-care is an integral part of the procedure so that I am constantly doing what I need to do to show up in the way that I need to show up. And it's important to say like pleasing people often isn't what's best for them.
Right.
Sometimes what's best for the other person is to say, hey, it's really concerning to see this behavior. Right.
Yeah.
Like if I can't call out a friend for something that I think is, I was talking about this yesterday with some friends. In 3rd grade, I got sent to the principal's office for bullying. I wasn't bullying, but my friends were bullying and I didn't do anything about it. And I was very mad in 3rd grade and for years afterwards. Like I remember the school
you held that grudge.
Doing this to me.
Yeah.
Right? For associating me with the bullying that I wasn't participating in. Now, I'm not saying I'm innocent of bullying my entire life, but in this case, I wasn't doing the bullying. But what I also didn't do was have the courage to put my ego aside. I was in 3rd grade, so like cut me some slack.
You were 8.
but there was a lesson I needed to learn, which was I didn't have enough courage to put my ego aside and say like, hey, maybe this isn't what we should be doing.
Yeah.
And I think that that's an important part of this too, is like, telling people that they're doing something wrong is the opposite of people pleasing. People pleasing tells us shut your mouth when you disagree with something so you don't rock the boat. Wrong. Like you need to be appealing to the best interests and what you think is really going to drive the best outcome for the community that you're engaging with or the individual that you're engaging with at that time. So I'm not ever going to espouse people pleasing, and I'm not going to espouse self-harm or self-neglect towards the purpose of positive interaction, because someone who is in self-harm or self-neglect or even negative self-talk won't be able to show up and bring the value that they're capable of bringing.
Totally. Slight pivot. That was really good though. I was really into that. I was locked in the whole time. But I just want you to know that before I pivot because we're going to keep moving. How can you tell if a guy is like serious about you or if he's just like having a good time? Because I think a lot of women, you're texting, you're like hanging out, you're going on dates. And then one day he's like, I think it's better. Like I hear this word a lot in breakups or like even the end of situationships where it's like, I was blindsided. Like I thought we were having a great time. I thought everything was good. And he's just like not interested. How can you tell, like, are there some things that like a guy, like obviously this is generalizations. We have to speak in generalizations here, but like, how can you tell someone's like actually serious about you versus like we're just having a good time?
Yeah, 100%. Like this was one that like let's see if we can get there. So
this episode is brought to you by Whoop. Whoop is the only wearable that turns your health and fitness data into personalized guidance. I've been wearing my Whoop for over 2 years now, and I can confidently say that the new model is legitimately an amazing upgrade. The new device is 7% smaller than the previous model, and the new battery lasts for 2 full weeks before you need to recharge. But those aren't even my favorite features. Between tracking for women's cycles and hormones, determining your physiological age and pace of aging, and heart health features like on-demand blood pressure and ECG readings, the new Whoop is designed to improve your longevity and could literally be a lifesaver. And now, for the first time, Whoop Advanced Labs connects over 65 key biomarkers like thyroid-stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone, and cortisol with more than 100,000 daily health data points. When you schedule a lab test, you don't just get numbers. You get clarity on what's happening inside your specific individual body, including insights to your hormones, metabolism, and recovery, plus a clear action plan to start improving your health. You know how I feel about my health. Proactive and preventative. And the new Whoop is my #1 teammate in wellness. Join now at join.whoop.com/Samantha Fair. That's join.whoop.com/Samantha Fair.
Basically what you do is, I'm just thinking through the complexity here, is you ask, and if they say yes, then it's generally going to be serious.
Wait, you ask them if they're serious about you?
Yeah. What do you mean? Like this is something that I hear all the time.
I think Remy's over there laughing at us right now.
How can you tell if someone's serious about you? Well, you ask them to tell you. And people are terrified of this, but
yes.
I've seen it happen where, and it's gone both directions, where someone sends a text that is basically like, hey, I'm really enjoying what's going on. I just wanted to put out there that if there's not, like, if you don't see this as something that might grow into a long-term relationship, I want to protect both of us because that's the way I'm feeling about it.
Okay.
And the response being, hey, I'm actually not looking for a long-term relationship, but I can respect what you're saying here, and like, bummer, but
best of luck.
Ciao. And that saves the blind side.
Yeah.
Because you're not letting it drag on for another 3 months with someone who's just like, hey, yeah, I enjoy spending time with you, but I'm not looking right now, or
So to continue down this avenue, girls sometimes will stay in what we call a situationship. You know what that is, right? A non-defined relationship.
Yeah, I'm
right.
familiar.
So
never been in one.
Right. No, you wouldn't know from personal experience, but you know what it is.
Sure.
So girls will stay in it without an official like title, or they'll do the thing where it's like, we're exclusive, but we're like not in a relationship.
That's not a thing.
Agreed. And I think there's a major difference to this point between like where you said you don't tell the other person you stop dating people, you just do, because exclusive isn't a thing without a relationship title. And even if it's not in the relationship title, like where they're in a situationship, it happens with like all kinds of different things. How do you bring up the official conversation? How do you bring up like, he hasn't said I love you and it's been like 7 months, 8 months, like we're getting to a place where like I'm uncomfortable with it. Like, how do you bring up like talking about moving in together? How do you talk about marriage? Like, how, as a man, if you haven't brought it up, like, when is that? How does a girl do it so that you are receptive? How should a girl bring that stuff up?
I mean, yeah, like if it's in the first 3 or 4 dates, right? You don't need to know.
Don't.
Right.
Right.
Because it hasn't, maybe it hasn't happened yet.
Right.
Right. Like, I think relationships are something that grow over time, and determining level of seriousness takes time. So like, don't expect an answer right away. If the relationship, situationship, however you want to describe it, has gone on long enough that it seems like, that like we need to get a little bit of definition here, and that's not forthcoming, you just say it. And usually it's best to approach it, in my opinion, from like hey, here's what I feel, and I am seeking this information from you. Not telling the person what you expect them to do or what you need them to do, but presenting sort of like this is me, and I just wanted to get your feedback on it. And then taking the feedback and saying, is this acceptable to me or unacceptable to me?
Would you, like, I would never do this, to be clear, because I've been traumatized in my life from past boyfriends that didn't exist. But if a girl said, I love you first, like, what does that feel like as a guy? Are you like, oh my God, I hate this. Like, I don't love this.
There's this whole thing, like, overwhelmingly, in my opinion, guys would be thrilled to be approached by, like, for a
totally.
First encounter.
No, I agree with that.
Perfectly comfortable being told I love you first, right? Like, I think like the idea that the man has to drive the relationship through progress points it doesn't make any sense to me. Because one, like, I think men are overwhelmingly going to be indecisive or afraid in relationships because of certain social constructs around like what's right and what's wrong, and can I do this or can I not do this, which is leading to the sort of the death of dating, in that people are afraid to approach a woman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair, agreed.
But at the end of the day, right, like, it shouldn't matter who says I love you first.
I think the fear is just like, if he hasn't said it within 6 months, he doesn't.
Love is completely different to different people.
Mm-hmm.
My love to me is different than love to you.
Probably.
But we love each other.
Yeah.
And love is a boundless entity. So there's like a floor to it, sure, but there's no ceiling.
Yeah.
It can continue to grow forever, and it should continue to grow. So like the question isn't like, oh, do they love me back, right? It's like, do they have a version of love that's compatible with my version of love, and are we both getting there?
We are coming up on time, so I'm gonna we're gonna go quickly in a couple questions. Where is the line between? Someone asked, where's the line between compromising in a relationship and changing yourself for the other person?
The equator. Compromising and changing.
You're so annoying.
Compromise is important, right? Like I'm gonna do things that I don't like because they make you happy, knowing that you'll bend on things that you don't like to make me happy. Changing yourself for the relationship, never do it.
Yeah.
Changing yourself because you're not showing up in the world writ large the way you need to, do that.
Sure.
But that isn't defined by, like, you're not doing that for anyone but yourself.
I agree.
Because of the like impact you want to have on the world.
I agree. And I think a lot of women experience that. Someone asked, do you think there's a difference between being in love and deciding they're the one? And if so, what is it? Like, how do you know if they're the one? That was the words of the follower.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I think this gets back to sort of what I was mentioning around love being something that's different for every person, and something that is boundless in its ability to grow. So you can absolutely love people who are not
agreed
the one. I also push back against the idea that there is a the one.
I know, me too. I feel that way too. But like, I think this person means the one in the context of like deciding that you're
I am going to make the decision that this is the person that I hope to spend the rest of my life with.
Yes.
And I think that, once you're saying, like, based on what love is to me, I love this person, then you start to think about, is this person someone that I want to spend the rest of my life with? I also resist the 17 magazine Western version of love. And there's, I forget the name of the text. I'll pull it for the citation, but there's an idea of like the Russian way of love versus the Western way of love.
Okay.
And the Russian version is called the regime of fate, and the American version is the regime of choice. And what it argues is that basically in the West, we have this 17 magazine version of finding the one, which is a checklist in 17 magazines. Like, he has, blonde hair, like whatever it is, you check all the things. And if he checks 16 out of 18 boxes, he might be the one,
right? Because
that's pretty good. And that checklist approach is a choiceful regime. And the argument is that leads to short-term satisfaction, but long-term misery, in that it doesn't hold up to the test of time. Versus the regime of fate in Russian, which is like, love is like getting run over by a bus. It just happens to you, and then you're done, right? And it's sweaty palms and poetry and attempted suicide and all this like miserable, beautiful, incredible stuff. It's butterflies in the stomach. And I think that the truth of like what love should be is going to be different person to person. Some people are going to say like, that regime of choice sounds way better to me than the regime of fate. But I think there's magic in that regime of fate, and allowing yourself to like look for those signals and the power of the relationship when you test it against like am I, is this serving my higher purpose? Is fun. So there's not really an answer. It comes down to to the values that you hold for yourself, and sort of what you want that thing to look like.
Yeah. Someone asked when you knew you were in love with me.
In utero.
Before time.
Yeah, before time. At the Big Bang. I think love is not the same for every person. And I think that it's a very complicated question to say like when was love established. I think there's truth in the idea that some people are struck by the lightning of love, right? Like, this is where you get the idea of love at first sight. Like, boom, like, wow, I'm in love. And then for other people, there's a moment where you look back at the past days, months, years, and say like, oh wow, I've been head over heels this entire time. And so like, I guess the question is like, what is the moment you realize that there's love? And like it was, just like a passing glance, right? Like a brush of the knuckles. Nothing dramatic. There's no lightning bolt, but it's it's the peace and beauty of looking and realizing that everything that love means to you is present and has been present with the person that you're looking at. And for me, that happened when I was in my mother's uterus,
before you were born,
imagining the possibility of you.
That's so nice. I love you.
I love you too.
Thanks for coming to podcast. Besties, that is a lot of answers from a man who's pretty healed, pretty evolved. Oh no. I need Remy to switch the camera.
Is it not just running?
It's only recording you right now.
You want to come over here?
All right, guys. Our sound engineer left the room, so we're just gonna finish the podcast like this. So that was a lot of answers to your questions from a pretty evolved and healed man as far as men go. And I think it's interesting. You could like listen to total douchebag guys answer the same questions and they would be completely different, but I'm just really lucky. And you're really smart too. And you've, I think, just done a lot of like self-discovery in your life. And so you're uniquely attuned to your emotions and have like a greater self-awareness than a lot of people. But I think these are really interesting conversations. I think there are a lot of takeaways and a lot of like opportunities to look at your own life through the lenses that we just presented. And even if your answers to the questions aren't the same, like maybe it gives you a little different perspective on what someone else's answers might be or like what's going through the other person's head. And at the end of the day, you can't read minds, right? And so I think a lot of the answer is that it's like really individual. It's really personal, like finding your person, choosing your person, or running your person over with a bus.
I can read minds. I just did a general version of the like for everyone else.
Are you fate or choice regime? I moved over here because the camera was over here. Remy's looking at us like, what the fuck is going on? So I hate you with a bus.
Yeah.
Love.
Yeah.
And that's on love. Okay. I love you guys. Thanks for listening. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving and have had a couple days off. And I hope you're listening to this on a hot girl walk at your parents' home, your childhood home. And I love you. And I'd love to hear feedback on this episode because I think my boyfriend's really smart, but it's sometimes like when you have a baby and you think they're really cute because they're your baby, but it looks like a smushed alien. So if you love William as much as I do, let me know in the DMs and maybe he'll come back for more and we can do more questions because there were a couple we didn't get to because we're yappers. But anyway, thanks for listening. I'll see you guys next week. I think with a guest, a sciencey guest, not a guest I'm in love with. Love you guys. Talk soon.
Thanks for having me.
Look at what we look like on here.